Hey guys, welcome back to D-Tech. Today we are working on this 2015 Jeep Cherokee Latitude, and it was brought to me from a gentleman that works at another shop, and he was looking at it on his own but cannot get the air conditioning system to work properly. Now he's replaced the compressor and checked a bunch of other things, and so he just wanted me to take a look at it, see if I can get it going. The first thing about this vehicle, it takes the 1234 YF Freon, which I currently at the moment do not have a machine to service this Freon. So I cannot hook up gauges, check pressures while it's running, so on and so forth. So for right now, I want to do some electrical checks, and I just want to see what's going on when we try to activate the air conditioning. Now the things that I want to look at on this vehicle to get an idea of what's going on. Now the first thing that I did was take a look down here at the compressor, after obviously realizing that the Freon is the one that I cannot service. And so obviously the compressor is new, but let's see if I can get you a shot. Also, just trying to get an idea of the makeup or how it works. So that right there is for the clutch, so it's two wires, I'm assuming a power and a ground, and then the other wire down, let's see, there is also for a variable solenoid on the compressor. So not only do we have a clutch, but we've got a solenoid that gets duty cycled, controlled, and so those two things come into play with trying to get the compressor to work. And so, since those will have to be supplied power and duty control, so on and so forth, that is where I'm tapped in. So one of these is the clutch and the other is the duty cycle supply from the computer. And because I also not only just want to see if there's power supply to it or control, I want to see the amperage for the work, if there's work being done by those components. So just simple connections there, checking basically power supply to the two items that control the compressor. And because I cannot check the pressure with gauges, I decided to tap into the pressure sensor signal wire to see if we get pressure changes at all. Just an added bonus of something to look at. Alright, so if we take a look here at the channels, let's break them apart. So, got the blue. Okay, so this is going to be our duty cycle control to the solenoid, and then the purple is the amp clamp on that solenoid. And that, we started the vehicle here. We're idling, and then at this point is where I hit the AC button for me asking as a request to get the compressor going. Now the red is power supply to the clutch, yellow is amperage for the clutch, green is the pressure sensor signal, and we basically have no activity for the clutch. There's no work being done. No power being supplied, and no pressure changes going on in the signals. The pressures are staying stable. So the only thing right now that is working is the solenoid. That is being controlled by the engine computer, as you can tell. So by that quick test gives us an idea of what's going on. Number one, our clutch is not working, our pressure is not doing anything. That's only being controlled. Alright, so if we take a look, right there is our clutch. We are now at the wiring diagram. And let's see, black wire, so it goes straight to ground. And the one that we're tapped into with the probe and the amp clamp is one we're getting 0 activity at. And so if you look, there's a fuse and then there's a relay. And the relay will get controlled by the engine computer. And so I think for right now, since I know we're not getting any power here, I'll quickly double check the fuse. I doubt it was a fuse because, again, the gentleman was looking at this. I want to just add a channel, and I want to check this line here, which is going to be the control from the engine computer. I want to see what's going on there and if there is control present, which could maybe then tell us the rest of the story. I'm starting to, after reading that right there, it says on PCB. I'm starting to kind of fear, or not really fear, but almost beginning to assume that we might have an internal relay problem with that. That means that it's not replaceable, it's not external or accessible. So hopefully it's not that, but let's verify by checking this line here. Alright, so our added channel is this teal blue one that, let's see, let's take a look and see what that one's doing. So, if you look here, it had power supply was there present, and then when we were requesting and activating the switch button inside to turn the AC on, the power dropped. So the computer is able to control, it's grounding that for the relay. It has capabilities, power is getting there, it is grounding it, so the driver for that is good, internal to the engine computer, which then only, I guess, leaves us that the circuitry or the relay internal to the fuse box seems to be the problem. That's going to be in here. So somewhere internal to that most likely is what we have going on. Okay, so I've got my meter and I want to kind of just prove out a couple of things. So I've got it on the ohms for it to beep whenever we find continuity. So I'm on this probe, which is the one that goes to the clutch. What I want to do is, since I've got one lead here on the pierced one, I want to show you that it should make noise when I get on the pin. Alright, so I'm in there. So that tells me a couple things. I'm on the correct wire, obviously, and I am making contact there. Now, I've removed the fuse, and the fuse is good. And it is fuse 20, according to the diagram. And fuse 20 is listed as this guy right here. And even on the list, wherever it's at, it tells us fuse 20 is the AC clutch right there. So that is this spot over here, and let me get the light. So I want to see which side is going to be the one that goes to the compressor. So I should hear a beep. And nothing there, and nothing there. So both sides of that fuse do not have continuity out of the fuse box over to the harness down to the compressor. So we might not have a relay problem. We might have a wiring problem, or again, circuit inside internal to the fuse box that's not letting the power go out, if the power's even making it there. So that's one thing. Let's go ahead, see if power's even getting here, which would mean that the relay is working. So let's check that, and I'm going to do it with the fuse out because I also want to see which leg is which. So let's move this over to, actually I'll just tap in here. Alright, and we can see the battery's not all that great anyway, so that's a different side story. So let's go ahead, run this, and check for power. Hopefully it'll crank over. Alright, so power. AC's on. There we go. So that leg on the right is supplying the power. Let's cut it off. And it should take the power away. Alright. Pretty straightforward. Relay is working. Computer's working. So on and so forth. So our circuit is not being completed from fuse box over to the clutch. Alright, so got the fuse box out, and someone had already been in here. As you could tell, they labeled the B plus cables. So someone obviously was in here messing. Now take a look underneath. What do we see here? We got a bent pin. And I haven't mapped nothing out, checked connectors, but I got a pretty good idea of which pin that's going to be. So let's get the ohm meter. So if the right one had the power supply, the one going out should be this one. The one on the left. So there we go. We found our problem. Hopefully we can straighten that out. All right, one last check before we put it together. So one lead from the meter. So let's see. It was, there we go. Circuit complete. So let's put this together and get some figures with the scope as we get the AC working. Alright, so finally it looks like we're getting some operation of the compressor. So we know what the blue and purple are. We'll kind of move those up this way. And so now we've got activity on the red and yellow, which is our power supply and amperage to the clutch. So let's see, yep, 14 volts, and then just above 3.5 amps for the clutch. So that's working properly. And then when we command the compressor on, obviously the teal gets grounded by the computer. Let's take a look at our pressure. Let's see. So right here we can tell we have a pressure change. There we go. So our pressure started going up. That is verifying with us that our clutch or our clutch does engage, and internally the compressor is working. It's able to produce pressure. Now obviously I don't have this scaled, but the fact that now we've got a pressure rise when our amperage shot up and so on and so forth tells us everything we need to know, and the system is working properly. And here's where we turned it off. See, our AC pressure was up high, kind of cycling. Let's see. So that can show us that. See that? So without having the actual machine and gauges and stuff, we can look at this, scope it out, and see what our compressor is doing. It looks like it's working properly. So kind of our hands tied behind our back, we can use other data to verify things. And there we go. That's where we turned it off. Our voltage shot down, amperage came back down, and then our pressure started to continue to go down.